Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, dubious speculation. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, Ethereum had kind of a deeper move down last week than I thought it was, if I'm being honest, right? And so, when stuff like that happens, I have to like look at it and be like, all right, what did I miss? Like what's going on? Um, like where is it gonna go? Like, where is it gonna go? Because with Ethereum, just kind of like bring everyone up to speed and my general thought process on Ethereum, and for the most part, I think the views that we've expressed on Ethereum for the last few years have been mostly correct, right? I mean, we talked about how Ethereum could go higher if Bitcoin goes higher before it goes home, but that ETH Bitcoin would bleed in that case. And so you're better off holding Bitcoin during that time than Ethereum, right? We talked about that a lot. And obviously a lot of people didn't like that, but it's true, right? And I don't control this stuff, but you can see that ETH went up, but it bled against Bitcoin, the white line, right? So ETH USD was going up, but it was bleeding against Bitcoin. But we also know that when Ethereum goes home, which it does every few years, that's when it usually bottoms against Bitcoin, right? It's happened many times. And so when we're looking at this, we're like, hey guys, crazy thought. What if this time's not different, right? What if Ethereum goes home and it bottoms against Bitcoin? So then in April, for the first time this cycle, I thought it made sense to buy Ethereum because I thought it was going to go up against the US dollar. But more importantly, I thought it was going to go up against Bitcoin. And it has, right? It has. It's rallied from the lows to the highs here, about 144%. Now, when Ethereum crossed the prior all-time high, we said that it would likely be rejected on the first attempt. Okay? And it was. And we also said that when Ethereum gets rejected on the first attempt, it'll likely correspond to a local top by ETH Bitcoin, right? So you can see that ETH USD found a top on August 18th, the week of August 18th. ETH Bitcoin found a top the week of August 18th, right? Like, I mean, I know, like, we're just showing you, we said that was likely was going to happen, and we're just showing you how this stuff plays out. So, now what? Well, we said that Ethereum would likely get this pullback on its Bitcoin pair. And my guess, and I want to be clear about it so there's no ambiguity. I mean, what's life without a little risk, right? My guess is that ETH will print a macro higher low against Bitcoin in early December. That is my guess. Okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen in November. I'm not saying January. I'm saying I think it's going to happen in December. Now, why? Well, one of the reasons why is because going into early December, Bitcoin just tends to be stronger than Ethereum. And if you go back and look at all the prior like major lows by ETH Bitcoin, like a lot of times it forms lows in the month of December. So let's look at 2015. You can see, I mean, there was some wicks lower back in October, but it still dropped into early December, right? So I don't think we're going to take out these drops, these lows here, but you could still see it trend down into early December and then rally up. So you have 2016 December, you have 2017 December, you have 2018 December, you have this is 2015. So 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And then you have 2019 and 2020. It didn't work in 2021. But 2021 was a crazy year. But that was what I remembered from the prior cycles. I remember always it was December where ETH bottomed against Bitcoin. And that kind of led to that famous video that I put out all those years ago. I think I put it out December 31st of 2020, if anyone wants to go look it up. But it was called Remember, the end of December. And we made that video right here, late December of 2020. And we made it because it just kind of felt like, you know, ETH was just bleeding against Bitcoin and that there was nothing else. But we're like, no, hold on a second. I mean, like, this is what it normally does. Like, it bleeds into December and then it rallies after that against Bitcoin. So what I think, when I look at ETH USD, I see that same pattern, right? Like, I see that same pattern where it had a move up and then it consolidated. And then it had another move up, and now we're just kind of in that consolidation, right? Not ETH Bitcoin, same idea, right? You have one move up, consolidation, another move up, consolidation. That consolidation likely lasts into December. And then hopefully there can be another move after that. Now, we always have to talk about the stuff we don't want to talk about, and that is, what if I'm wrong? Well, I could be. I've been pretty confident about my views on Ethereum for a long time. Like, even though it felt like, for periods it felt like I was wrong, but ultimately a lot of it did play out given enough time. And one of the things that has made me a little uncomfortable is the fact that Ethereum has given up its bull market support band. Right, so that's made me a little uncomfortable. And it's kind of made me reevaluate, like, what am I missing? And we did talk about, like, that Tesla comparison, where if you look at Tesla, it also kind of, Ethereum's pattern seems to be matching it, where it prints, a low and then a macro higher low, and then it rallied up from basically the same price as Ethereum. You just add a zero for Ethereum's price from 139 up to like 490, and then it went all the way back down to 210, right? So I'm like, all right, does Ethereum have to go back to 2100? Because that would really suck if it did. It's not. I mean, it's not my base case. I mean, maybe it should be, but it's not. And one of the reasons why it's not is because the high that Tesla put in, after it found a low in April, and then the high was December. So for Ethereum, the low was also in April. So the reason why I'm choosing to sort of assume that it maybe can deviate from Tesla here is because Tesla stayed strong into December. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it, right? I could see a scenario where the way this plays out is, in an ideal world, Bitcoin stays above the 50-week moving average. It allows Ethereum to get one final rally to end the cycle, right? Hopefully that pans out. I'm willing to drop the whole narrative and just say this is where my luck runs out on 2 weekly closes by Bitcoin below the 50-week moving average, right? At that point, I would let it go and be like, look, I had a good run, but it was always going to come to an end at some point. So that's where I am with it right now. Right? I'm still open-minded to my base view being the right view, where Ethereum gets one more rally to an all-time high. But, it's difficult when something happens that you were not anticipating, and that is, Ethereum dropping here below the bull market support band. Now, one thing to think about, maybe when you look at Tesla, you don't look at the depth of the drop, you look at how long it lasted, right? And from the high to kind of where the range low was formed, even though we technically swept it a little bit after that, was 12 weeks and then 16 weeks. So 12 to 16 weeks is where Tesla found a low after having that big rally up to 490. Now, for Ethereum, it rallied up to 4,900. How many weeks has it been? Has it been 12 weeks? We got to be, it's been a while, because that was back in August. 11 weeks, right? So we're at 11 weeks. So in terms of like the length of consolidation, it's kind of at that point where Tesla started to consolidate and then by the way, I mean, while Tesla gave a lot of those gains back and went all the way down to 210, I mean, now it's right back up to all-time highs essentially. So that, like, this is how I interpret it, right? That's how I interpret it, is that if you look at it through the lens of its Bitcoin valuation, I believe ETH Bitcoin is going to bounce, but not until December, right? December is the key. It's not October, it's not November, it's December. And when you look at total 2 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin, wouldn't it be perfect? Absolutely perfect. If this chart double bottoms right there, right? So you have your drop, you form a low, you bounce, you double bottom in December, and then you bounce higher. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to think that's how it plays out. I mean, hopefully it happens on a Bitcoin rally and not a Bitcoin dump. But those are my thoughts. I mean, those are my thoughts on Ethereum. Now, how far down did Ethereum go, right? I mean, it went down to 3K. I want to show you guys something that, I mean, it's really dubious. I mean, it really is. And I've looked at this for a long time, and I've like debated, oh my God, do I show it to him? Do I not? It's kind of stupid. Probably is kind of dumb. But it's an optimistic way to look at ETH. So we'll look at it. Back in 2017, go back, roll back the clocks. In the bull market, Bitcoin had a lot of great rallies, right? But one of the rallies that Bitcoin had was, you guessed it, up to 4,900. I don't know what it is about 4,900, or sorry, yeah, 4,900. I don't know what it is about 4,900, but we don't like passing it on the first attempt. And you can see that's exactly where Ethereum went. 4,900. Right there. 49. Where did Bitcoin find a low back then after it hit 49? It found a low at right around 3K, right? Like right around 3K. And then it rallied. 29.74. Well, so far, Ethereum went down to 3,058 on this exchange. Although I'm sure it varies depending on what exchange you use. You know, some it went lower, right? I mean, I have to imagine. But 3,058 or so. So if we're mimicking that, then you would expect Ethereum to try to find support around that $3,000 mark, you know? And that doesn't mean it can't go slightly lower. I mean, I guess it could. Obviously, Bitcoin's bouncing right now. We do have a death cross coming up soon. You know, is it possible that Bitcoin rolls over into the death cross? That's possible, right? It doesn't have to happen. I'll also rally into it as well. But if it does dump again, obviously Ethereum, it could spook Ethereum again. But it is something to keep in mind, you know, like what Bitcoin did back in 2017 and kind of like where it found those support levels and whatnot. And I just know it was 4,900 down to about 2,900, and then there was another rally after that. Now listen, if there is another rally by Ethereum, yeah, I think it will be the last rally of the cycle for it. I don't think it'll get another one after that. And I mean, at this point, hopefully we can get that, and hopefully the top's not already in, which is a distinct possibility. But I want to believe that there's something left in it, because, you know, when I think back to like my baseline view, it was always go home, right? Ethereum goes home, then it goes to new all-time high, right? First it goes home, then it goes to new all-time high. It gets everyone to believe, and then when it hits the all-time high, it gets rejected. Now, I said expect a 30% drop. And I was right for a little while. And it dropped more, right? It dropped 38%. So I was wrong about the depth of the drop. I thought it'd probably bottom around 30% down. It clearly went below that. Not like it hasn't done that before. I mean, there's been, I mean, even if you ignore the wick over there, from that level right there down to the weekly close, it was 31%. That doesn't even include the wick down. And then, of course, if you want to look at it through the lens of the bull market support band, you can see that there's times where it does go below the bull market support band, like it is now, and it still was able to rally to a new all-time high. So, like, I don't want to, and there's other times, right, where it's gotten below it and then managed to get back above it. So I don't want to give you the impression that it can't get back above it. I'm just saying that if Ethereum does get back above its bull market support band and we go into another rally, I will be absolutely thinking that that is the final rally of the cycle. And I'm not willing to say that it's over until Bitcoin gets multiple weekly closes below the 50-week moving average, right? Like, that has got to be that's my sign, right? And I know it's kind of hand wavy and, I could be a little bit more bold about something else, but that's just kind of what I want to do, right? Show me the closes below the 50-week moving average, and I'll see myself, out the door for this cycle, and we'll see you next cycle, right? But we haven't had it yet, so of course it does leave some hope that maybe you can see another move up by Ethereum before this thing's all said and done. But the way I think it's going to play out, if my view is right, the way I think it would play out is like Ethereum would get a rally to an all-time high, and then we would just return to the regression band in 2026, and then hopefully we can build off that in the next cycle. But those are my views. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.